Marty Biron joining us in the Western Hotline as we get ready for tonight's Sabres opener. This is the Tick Tick Boom song, which, if this one wins, it made an unbelievable comeback. Like,
it was down in the standings.
Oh, it was down way down there. Five nominees, 3 were alive, and this is one of the 2 that was on the bottom. This would be like the Bills beating the Ravens? Even deeper than that. It would have a massive comeback. Marty Biron joining us to preview tonight's game in the Sabres season. Marty, do you know, maybe not at liberty to tell, do you know what won the vote for the goal song?
No, I don't. I actually was voting almost every day as well. Like, I was part of the fan base. Like, and every day I had a different feeling. I voted for Tick Tick Boom one time because when I played it that morning, because I would play them almost every morning, and it made me think of Madden, right? Like when you played Madden, and that was the song that would come on, and I was like, oh, I like that. Swords of a Thousand Men, I voted for it like a lot, and then Escada was the other one that I didn't think was, like, I didn't like it just like this. And then in the building, when the Sabres scored and they played it, I was like, oh, man, this is really good. Like, the crowd is going. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens tonight.
Are you saying you voted for multiple songs?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I did. Like, it was, it's depends how you wake up in the morning and what you feel like. So I wanted to give everybody a fair shot. Like, I voted for multiple songs, but some of them were more than others.
Are you at liberty to tell us? Will you feel comfortable telling us which one you think got the most of your votes?
I think it was early on was Swords of a Thousand Men.
All right.
And then late it was Escada because, like I said,
a late push.
A late push, and I didn't go so I didn't go to the Columbus game, and then I went to the Detroit game, and we worked the Pittsburgh game. So I think later I started to think like, oh, I kind of like this vibe after a goal. So it kind of changed halfway in the voting.
All right. Very good. Well, Marty, tonight's the Sabres and the Rangers, and the season's set to begin. Let's start talking in goal, where things are uncertain. It might be the position that we're waiting to see the most from because there are a lot of guys back there that are unproven, especially with UPL injured. So Alex Lyon likely gets the start tonight for the Sabres. What do you think about this goaltending room, tandem, group? I'm not quite sure what to call it just because it's so in flux right now.
Yeah, I don't know what to call it either, Jeremy. It's a day-by-day, week-by-week kind of situation, right? And look, Alex Lyon was signed to a 2-year contract as a free agent. There was a reason for it. We all remember what he did with Florida a few years back. He actually got Florida in the playoffs 1 point ahead of the Sabres, and then Bobrovsky in the Boston series in the first round ended up taking it over. Florida loses to Vegas in the finals, but Alex Lyon got the Florida Panthers in the playoffs, and that started their streak of success. And he was good with Detroit, so he was brought in to be that security blanket, the guy that you could maybe, if it's just a straight backup and he plays 25 games, he can do it. If you need more, he can do it. And now you're obviously being presented with a situation where, well, you know what? He's going to have to play early on, and we'll see what happened to Luukkonen. So I have full confidence in Alex Lyon to a point where I'm like, okay, he's never been like a number one goalie because he's not in the same, a group as the top guys, the Shesterkin, the Vasilevsky, the, Ottinger, the Hellebuck, whatnot. Like, and that's fine. You don't need that. You just need to not be 29th in goals against. And I think that Alex Lyon helps you not being 29th in goals against, but there's many other factors that have to work out in front of him.
Yeah, in front of him, that's what Lindy kind of brought up, Marty, when we talked to him the other day about the goaltending, is he went right to, well, we would be hoping to give up fewer chances in front of whoever that is. So maybe they are a little bit undermanned in that. It's Lyon and then it's Colton Ellis, who's never played in the NHL yet. But the way that could look better is if their moves in the offseason actually come to fruition and they are preventing more chances. How confident are you that will happen? That their blue line is better, their style now presents itself, that the goalie's job is going to be easier than it's been?
Well, I'm confident in Dahlin and Biron because when they played together last year, they were a top 3 pair in the National Hockey League when you look at the goals for and the goals against, and they controlled the play. And I think that was a priority in the offseason. Get Byram signed, know that he's going to play with Dahlin, and that's the priority. Then Kesselring was another priority so that he and Owen Power can really start to build something. Obviously, I'm disappointed that, we're not going to see Kesselring at the start of the year here. But I'm still, it's not about just game one. It's about the full season. And I think that top 4 has a lot of really good qualities. Now, at the end of the day, I feel like it comes back to goaltending, and maybe I'm being too harsh on it, but, everybody's seeing, there's a bad play by Dahlin, there's a bad play by Power and whatnot. But if it doesn't end up in your net, you're probably not talking about it because it's not being shown on the, on SportsCenter, on the highlights and whatnot. So I really feel that the defense group is going to be better, but at the end of the day, get saves, and all of a sudden the narrative changes. Like, look at last night. I mean, the Oilers are cruising. They're up 3-0 on the Flames, and then one bad bounce, one terrible goal, and it's the same narrative now for the Oilers. Like Stuart Skinner, like I get it. Like the Oilers, they're not the best defensively, but he gave up a terrible goal that made it 3-3. They lose. Vegas is a team that, they're rumored that Carter Hart is going to sign with Vegas, and if he does, I'm really confident that Carter Hart will be their number 1 goaltender in February this year, just because last night they played well defensively. They, to a certain aspect, dominated the LA Kings. They end up losing 6-5 in the shootout. Like that's what it comes down to in the National Hockey League.
Marty Biron on the Western Hotline. With UPL, Marty, we're waiting to see, his timeline and how things go for him. He showed a little bit in one season, but past that, it's been rocky. So while Alex Lyon, you could have faith in him to start the season. If UPL gets healthy, are we thinking it just becomes his net, or is this a wide open battle at this point?
Well, if UPL becomes healthy, they are going to give him the chance to establish himself as a number 1. But the difference is that this season, because of the way the start of the season is laid out, like it's 10 games at home in the first 14 games, and you need to get off to a good start. You can't go in the first 14 games and say, you know what, it's not bad, but we're 5-9. No, you got to be like 8-6, 9-5. That's what you have to be in the first 14 games. So I think they will give Luukkonen a chance to say, hey, go ahead and establish yourself as the number 1 goalie. But the fact that he only played 20 minutes of preseason hockey, that he had a tweak early on and then something later, like it's going to be tricky. He's going to have to come in, practice really well, and hit the ground running when he gets in the net. And that may not be fair to him because most goalies would say, I need a little bit of time to get going, but I don't think that the Sabres have that luxury. Artur Shilov in Pittsburgh, he was asked to play game 1 against the New York Rangers, and boom, he has a shutout. But he had the whole camp to get ready and be given that chance. So it's a little bit different for Luukkonen right now, but I think they give him the chance to establish himself as the number 1.
Marty Biron with us on the Western Hotline. Marty, going into the season, they trade away J.J. Peterka. They didn't do a ton else at forward, but Norris, Kulik, like Benson, there are names that maybe you'd expect better years from. How do you think the forward group looks and whether they'll be able to score goals at even a rate they did last year? Like, of all the problems they had last year, I mean, scoring generally wasn't really one of them, especially at even strength. So how likely do you think that is to repeat?
Yeah, so, Joe, you look at it last year, right? Tage Thompson, 44 goals, only 7 on the power play. When he scored 47 goals a few years back, he had 20 on the power play. So I think that's 5-on-5. Yeah, J.J. Peterka had a great season last year. but overall, you have Jack Quinn to take a step forward, and I really believe this will be a fantastic year for Jack Quinn. You have Yuri Kulik that fits in. Josh Doan has had a good camp. Last year, you had career years from Zucker and McLeod, Tuck. And you've got so much talent and different types of players up front. I do believe that Norris is a big, big key to the success of Tage Thompson and others. And I wasn't a big fan of seeing Zach Benson on that top line all summer long. I'm talking about who's going to play the first line left winger, who's going to play first line left winger. And then in camp and in preseason, like Zach Benson was a perfect fit with Thompson and Norris. So it is camp and preseason, so let's, not get too excited. I want to see it in the regular season. But I'm going to give that a chance. I think they'll be fine offensively. The power play has to be better, but they'll score enough. It's not going to be about did they score enough. It's going to be about, did they prevent enough goals, and that's going to be the key.
Marty Biron. Marty, this team has talked about wanting to be tougher to play against for quite a long time. And there might be a bunch of different ways to do that. How will they try to be tough to play against?
Well, it's funny because we had Alex Stuck on Sabres Live yesterday, and I asked him, look, there's a lot of big boys, right, on the team. You're big, on the defense. Dahlin's huge. Kesselring is big. Power's big. Samuelson's big. Like, there's a lot of big boys. And the first name that he brought up was Mason Gertson. And he said, this guy is huge, and he can skate. And I do feel that a lot of fans are like, you know what, like, the enforcer role is not really a thing in the NHL anymore. You have to be able to play. But I think that Gertson is going to get a chance to play a little bit, and that's going to kind of set the tone. And maybe even in practice, that's going to set the tone to compete and to be heavy and strong. So is this still to be seen? 100%. Like, to me, they have to show it. And there was a few times in preseason where, like, not as strong in front of the net that you wanted to be. Lindy Ruff in the preseason game, we lost too many stick battles. It still was there a little bit, but I think it's going to get better. And hopefully by Christmas, we're saying, hey, you know what? This is a team that's a lot harder to play against. But I think every coach at this time of year is saying the same thing. Being hard to play against is something that was said in the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s, and it's being said again today.
I wonder how much the blue line plays into that too, Marty, because they are big and strong, but it's beyond Dahlin. Like, I guess I wonder how aggressive they'll all be with this, because the Samuelson was at the center of that question last year after the Tage hit against New Jersey, and Power, of course, will get some criticism on that front. He's young. Even Timmins and Kesselring, like, they have a lot of big bodies. I wonder how aggressive they'll be as a blue line overall, though.
So it's interesting because, most coaches are going to talk about taking time and space away, closing in on the puck. And that's quickness, that's read, that's positioning. And I think the Sabres have been good at that. But it's the finishing the play, leaning on guys, clearing the front of the net. And when I was in Philly, I played with Darian Hatcher. And I remember playing against Darian Hatcher for a few years and thinking, man, this guy is so slow, like he should just retire. And then I got to play with him, and I realized it's not about getting there. It's about winning the battle when you're presented with a battle. And I can tell you this, there was never anybody standing in front of the net. There was never anybody coming out of the puck with the puck when he was engaged in a one-on-one battle. Now, sometimes he didn't get to the corner in time, and he had to pick his battle. It's like playing, poker. Are you going to go in with the 2 and an 8? No, but if you have an ace king or, pocket aces, you better lean on that. So that's what I want to see. Maybe that's more Samuelson and Timmins. Like, okay, you're not the fastest out there, but, man, when you get there, lean and win that battle. So, Dahlin and Byram, they're going to get in the corners. They're going to take take time and space away. They're going to close in really quickly. Power, I'm still waiting to see that. But if you're not going to get there in time when you're presented with the chance, lean and win that battle.
Marty, lastly, it's 20 years since the 05-06 season. Maybe a fan could use this as hope for this year, too. 20 years since that year that obviously you're a part of. How long do you feel like was it before that team knew that it was something special, that team was going to be like legitimately good? Like, was it this early, like the first couple weeks of the season?
No, I think for me personally, I think it took probably until December. And obviously that's when I had my streak of, winning 13 straight starts. But we had lost Ryan Miller earlier in the year. Look, we lost a game to the Ottawa Senators. What was it, 9-4 or whatnot?
Yeah. That's when that was the night that pretty. Was it the night that Miller broke his thumb in practice?
Yeah, he broke his thumb in the morning skate, and I found out as I was driving in. Lindy called me and was like, "Hey, listen, you're starting tonight. Millsy has to have surgery or whatnot." So, but there was some disaster early on, and we weren't really like all fitting in, but Briere went down with the sports hernia, Dumont went down with the sports hernia, and then Roy and Pominville and Vanek and those guys really played a big role. So I want to say it was mid-season.
Yeah.
When Miller came back in December, I felt like we were rolling now, and he kind of just jumped right in and took over for the rest of the year.
In that Ottawa game, Marty, did you start and then Mika went in and then you went back in?
Yep, and I didn't even get the loss because Mika gave up the winning goal in the second period. Yeah. So I gave up, I think, 3. And then another 3 or 4. I gave up 6 or 7. I remember having him. This was kind of funny. So after the game, Lindy came into the room and called Mika and I into his office, and Darcy Regier was waiting there, and he was like, "This was embarrassing. You guys weren't ready to play," and he's yelling, and I never really spoke back. Like there was times where I did, but I always kind of just stay quiet. And I'm like, he's like, "You guys weren't ready to play." I'm like, "We weren't ready to play because you didn't play us in the first month of the season. Like it was Ryan Miller. Like we didn't play." And he goes, "I asked you guys if you wanted to go conditioning in Rochester, and you said no." I'm like, "Because it's not going to matter. It's about playing in the NHL. Give us a chance to play, and we'll respond." And he's like, "Well, we have no other choice now. You guys are going to be playing," and it kind of turned out better, obviously. But I remember having that argument with Darcy, and that was the start of something cool that year.
Yeah, it got rolling. So 10-4 was the final. Yeah. I want to find
10-4.
I want to find how rare that is in NHL history, Marty, to start a game and finish a game and not get the result. Like I cannot imagine that's happened more than a couple times, if ever.
No, it's not that rare because often, like, for example, my very first NHL game, I played the first period against Pittsburgh. I gave up 4. Steve Shields goes in the second period. He gives up 2 more. We're down 6-1. Yeah. And then Tim Nolan says, "Marty, you're going back in the third because you need to get the rep."
Okay.
It's happened more often. It just by that time, usually, you've switched and turned the TV off and are watching other sporting events because like that game's over. But that was the 2 4-goal games, right? I have that, and Alfredson, I think, had 4 goal games that game that was 10-4.
Yep, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, 4 goals for each.
You guys also that year, I remember, played a game in Rochester, a regular season game in Rochester.
That was a disaster.
Yeah, and I think at one point
the Roy Fitzpatrick and Brian Giunta Bowl.
Yeah.
Because it was against New Jersey and the ice was bad. And it was, that wasn't good.
Oh. All right, Marty. Well,
there'll be more better 20-year anniversaries with this season being 20 years old later in the year, I'm sure.
Yes.
So we'll get to it.
Marty, I'm optimistic, guys. Listen, Toronto, Tampa, Florida, I think those 3 teams are still going to be really good. Ottawa last year really took a step forward. But I think the Atlantic is better, and there's a spot there for a wild card And is Montreal? I didn't like Montreal's game last night. Is Columbus? Is Detroit?
It probably won't
Buffalo?
be Boston. The way their team looks.
No, well, although, you know what? Boston is going to do the same thing as they did last night. They're going to get outshot 35-22, and they're going to hope that Swayman is going to save the day, and he did that.
Yeah. Yeah, they might get some of those.
Thanks, Marty. Enjoy the season. We'll talk again, I'm sure, very, very soon.
Okay, have a good one, guys.
All right.
Thanks, Marty.
Thank you.